Jamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yeah. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we're reading from the 9th canto, chapter 20, text number 27. The chapter is about the dynasty of Puru. You guys have access to the verse? No.
Would you like it for yourself, Adi Purusha, for you? Would you like to see it, or would you want us to see it?
I think you guys have to see it. I'll see if I can read it without my glasses. Turn it that way so you guys can see, okay?
No, we can actually scoot over so we can see.
You're going to sit over there? Okay, cool. Trayas Trimsat Chatam. Oh, Trayas Trimsat Chatam Yasvan. Trayas Trimsat Chatam Yasvan. Trimsat Chatam Yasvam. Badva Vishma Payan Ripan. Tushmanti At Yagan Mayam Devanam Gurum Dhyayayo. Okay, word for word translation. Traya 3, Trimsat 30, Satam 100. He indeed, Ashvan horses, Badva arresting in the yagya, Pishmapayan astonishing, Nripan all other kings, Dushmanti the son of Maharaj Dushmanta, Atyagat surpassed, Mayam material opulences, Devanam of the demigods, Gurum the supreme spiritual master, Ayayal achieved. Srila Prabhupada's translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Bharat, the son of Maharaj Dushmanta, bound 3,300 horses for those sacrifices. And thus he astonished all other kings. He surpassed even the opulence of the demigods, for he achieved the supreme spiritual master, Hari. Srila Prabhupada's purport, His Divine Grace. One who achieves the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead certainly surpasses all material wealth, even that of the demigods in the heavenly planets. Yam labba chaparam labam mayati Nadhikam tataha. The achievement of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the most exalted achievement in life. So we ask everyone, please make a prayer. Please take a moment. Please, everyone, make a prayer to Krishna to bless us. What we have to say is nothing other than what we've heard from Guru and Scripture, with no distortion and no inappropriate motivation. We pray that we say what Krishna wants us to say today. There's so many things we can say, but we want to know what the Lord wants to transmit to the assembly of devotees. So we have a few people zooming in here for class. Welcome, everyone. Please be encouraged, invited to unmute yourself and contribute briefly so everyone has a chance. We want to hear your voice. This is an interactive class. And Om Megantamarandhyasya Gananjanan Shalakaya Chakshuran Meditam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master is kindly opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Let us offer respectful obeisances unto him again and again. So we, why are we here in class? Emily? To glorify Krishna, right? Welcome, Hare Krishna. What's your name? Okay. Well, welcome. We're here to glorify Krishna together. And we're sitting here in the class as an offering to the Lord. This is for Krishna's pleasure. And Krishna is very appreciative and is pleased by our sincere effort. We do our humble best and the Lord is pleased. Samsadhya Haritoshanam. Samsadhya Haritoshanam means the perfection of any activity is if it's an offering to the Lord. So here we're hearing about offering to the Lord. Bharat, the son of Maharshi Manta, he arranged for very extensive sacrifices. Yesterday, Jai Jagannath Prabhu was quoting from the Bhagavad Gita, Yagnatat Kamanodya Cha Lokayam Kamabandanaha. You know that verse? Yagnatat Kamanodya Cha. Work done as a sacrifice for Lord Vishnu must be performed. Otherwise, what? Right, work binds one to the material world. We are entangled. Work, if it's done as an offering to the Lord, it is purifying. We are transformed. Our consciousness is uplifted. And Krishna is pleased when we go forward in spiritual life. If what we're doing is for Krishna's pleasure. In the material world, Prabhu was pointing out yesterday, the general tendency is to act for our own satisfaction. And in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj says that when you do that, as soon as you try to do something for your own pleasure, your distress begins. Me in the center. What do I want? What do I like? What do I don't like? Arjuna Prabhu is here. Accept our obeisances. Excuse me for not getting up. So very grateful to see you smiling here in the assembly of devotees. So the tendency is for selfish activity. One end of the spectrum is the selfish activity, which is useless. On the other end of the spectrum is love. And actually it says, ahetukiya pratiyata, unceasing, unmotivated, devotional service to Krishna is the only way to satisfy the self. We do not satisfy ourselves by directly trying to satisfy the self, but by pleasing the Lord, then there is benefit, and then there is the result of our own satisfaction. We love that chant. And if you run the Swami's Purusha gathering a few years ago, they had hotel ballroom, many of his disciples there. And somehow the Maharaj asked me to speak. I mean, what can you say to glorify such a, amazing, extraordinary personality? So I made a little prayer to Krishna, and I said, "Oh, I can tell you this from my own direct perception and experience with Maharaj. He's completely satisfied just to serve Krishna. He doesn't want anything else." And the children used to hear the kindergarten Gurukul children chanting. Imagine a group of like 15 or 20 little children chanting, "We are satisfied living in the forest of Vrindavan." Try saying that. "We are satisfied living in the forest of Vrindavan." And it kind of seeps into you that even small children can understand that serving Krishna is a success, is the thing that will please us. And here we're hearing about a great king, emperor of the entire planet Earth. Imagine the resources if we had everyone in New York City even contributing and helping to arrange a big sacrificial performance. We're talking about not just countries, but continents and the whole planet, arranging for these yajnas, these sacrifices. So it's extraordinary in the opulence and the extent of it, but any one of us can please the Lord if we do our humble best. It's not that difficult. Lord, I'm a fallen soul. I make mistakes. What I do, in one sense, may not be perfect, but please accept me as I am. I'm here for you. Use me as you like. And the Lord is pleased. The Supreme Lord, the highest Supreme Personality of Godhead, gives himself. Yeyatama padinte tam sataiva bhajamyaham. Yeyatama padinte tam sataiva bhajamyaham. You know that verse? What is it?
However we approach Lord, God is protected.
That's right. Krishna reciprocates with how we approach him. If we make Krishna our all, then he treats us as if we are his all, right? In the Christian tradition, they say, Jesus is the only son. You ever hear that? You've heard that? Now that only is not quantitative. It's qualitative. When you have an only son, if you treat Krishna like that, and anybody, one devotee was giving class and he said, so if Jesus is the only son, then whose sons are we? Right? We must have some fatherness somewhere. So that only son, anybody can have that quality of the only son. There's that interesting story in the Bible about Abraham, who had an only son. And he waited for decades. It was predicted that he would have a son. And that son would generate, many hundreds and millions, as many descendants as the sands on the sea, and as many as the stars in the sky. And that from that descendant would come a Messiah, a person sent by the Lord to uplift people and rescue them from their fallen condition. And so he was really looking forward to this son. And then the son was born. And then he treated that only son with tender care and was so thrilled to be the father. And then one day the Lord said, "Oh, Abraham, you know that story?" What did he say?
You must sacrifice his son.
Yeah. "Take your son up on the mountain and bind him up, put him on the altar, and sacrifice him to me." Abraham's like, "Who am I? My son." "You might want to sacrifice." "Well, Lord, what I mean, whatever you say. I mean, doesn't seem reasonable. I mean, it's contrary to what you told me before, and I don't understand it. And I certainly would not prefer this, but if that's what you want." And he went up there on the mountain, and he was about to sacrifice his son. And then the Lord sent an angel and said, "Hold it, hold it, hold it. It was only a test. I wanted to see if there's anything you put before what I'm asking you to do." And all of us have our only sons. We have our preferences. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, everyone is born into this world based on Nanda Vihar. We're born into this world based on what? Based on delusion, what? Attachment and aversion, right? Desire and hate. I like this, I don't like that. I want this, I don't want that. Material life, right? So we release ourselves from that ridiculous paradigm of let's do what I like. If it feels good, do it. And if I don't like it, I'm not doing it. So devotional service is like that. We begin by accepting the spiritual master. And then we say to the spiritual master, what? What do you say to your guru?
How can I serve you?
How can I serve you? Tadvidi pranipatina. We inquire submissively and we render service. The self-realized soul becomes the voice in our life that is contrary to the voice of my mind and senses. What I like and what I don't like, what I want and what I don't want. Lord, what do you want? So it's a simple life. And we would like to hear anyone's realizations, testimonies. I'm going to mention a few things that happened the last few days in our service. Because Krishna consciousness is kind of exciting at the edge, at the frontier, where the light is pushing back the darkness. We had one guest, Maria Christina. Did you meet Maria Christina on 8th Avenue?
I think so.
Yeah, very sweet, beautiful girl. And she was here for about a week, staying on 8th Avenue. She came out for the morning program at the kitchen a few times. She came out to help with Krishna's prasad distribution. When she was leaving, the night before last, she said, "Adi, I have a life. I have a wonderful life. I have lots of love. I've got a fiance. I've got a dog. I'm a doctor. I have a job. I work in a hospital. I'm doing some charity work back home." She said, what's happened to me here, what I've heard here, what I've experienced here is so powerful and so profound. I'm thinking I'm not going home. Is that crazy? Imagine somebody saying that, I'm a doctor. I'm about to get married. I have a dog. I don't know how the dog fits into the picture, but dogs can be, you can have an affectionate bondage with a pet. And she said, I'm tempted not to go home. It's hilarious, And also there was, what's his name? Kwan. Did you meet Kwan from Kazakhstan, staying at 8th Avenue? He, tall Asian kid, dark hair. And he brought the Bhagavatam down and he put it on the table, that round table in the dining area. And he said, the way he was touching the book, just the way he was touching it, his hands were shaking. This book, I'm excited. I this book. I said, well, we give to you. No, I can't. It's too valuable. You cannot give it to me. I said, yes, we can. It was excited about the Bhagavatam. So how do we feel about the fact that Krishna is allowing us to inspire people to the extent that they will let go of their comfortable situation and their attachments and actually take up sadhana and surrender to Guru. Those are just two short things. One more. And we mentioned this before in class. Madison. Did you see this little Korean girl, Madison, who's been coming out? No, for prasad distribution. It's only about this big. Her father said, can I bring my daughter? Because he was helping. I said, yeah, but don't just drag her out here. Explain to her what we're doing. Explain to her why we're doing. Invite her and let her choose to come. So he brought her out. She came out once and I saw her doing service, serving prasad. And then she came out another day. And I got down and said, hey, Madison, why do you come out here? I'm a little bit mischievous with children. Prabhupada would do that too. He'd tease the children. Why do you come out here? And she looked at me like, you don't know why we're at it. She said, trying to show people God loves them. This is like coming from a little tiny little girl like that. I was like, oh God, I forgot that. We're trying to show people that God loves them. Oh, how sweet. And then I said, yeah, she said it like she believed it and she was trying to convince me, I said, who told you to tell that? My father told me. Okay. So we can get it. We can hear about it. The desire comes, we apply it, and we experience Krishna reciprocating, with that offering and showing his love for us. Can everybody say, how wonderful is Krishna?
How wonderful is Krishna?
How wonderful is Krishna with an exclamation point? Because, yeah, we're here to glorify the Lord. And if we don't do that in the class, what's the use, right? So please, you guys have a service. You have some capacity for sharing. Prabhupada said, if you want to thank me, the only way you can do it is give what I've given to you to someone else, right? So tell us about your experiences.
I got corrected by my daughter. She's 8 years old.
Your daughter's 8 years old and she corrected. I'm repeating what you're saying because the streamers there. Say it again. We got corrected by your daughter. She's 8 years old. Going on.
We were discussing someone, judging someone.
You were judging somebody else. Yeah.
Not without a reason, but we were talking in a negative way about a person. And Gaurangi, she was around. She's always.
They were talking. He and his wife were talking negatively about someone, and the little girl heard.
Around,
she's always listening. Yeah.
Always listening. And she looked at me, Dad. He just wants to know if you love him.
Dad, he just wants to know if you love him.
Just stop my nonsense.
The stuff these kids come up with. The other day, Gaurangi was out there at Prashadam distribution. There was this kid, a little bigger than her, a boy, and he was talking about hell. Imagine kids talking about hell. And she said, you see, I was like, she's going to explain. You see, there's heaven and hell. And then above that, there's a thing called Krishna consciousness. I was like, wow. She understands that distinction. She's speaking to somebody else about there's heaven and hell, and above that, there's a thing called Krishna consciousness. And then he said, well, she said, Jesus is the Son of God, and Krishna is God. He said, where did you hear that? She said, in the book, right? He said, what book? She said, Bhagavad Gita and the Joy of No Sex. That's a book called The Joy of No Sex, I was like, mother, these kids are too much for me, Childlike innocence, there's no filter, they just, get it. Get it. Amazing. We're here to show people God loves them, right? So please, you streamers, Jamuna Jai always has a static thing to share. Gail, Angel, Prabhu, Your experience in Krishna consciousness? Anything you want to share?
Hare Krishna, Adi. Good morning. It's Shivanajaya.
I see you.
I wanted to say, I want to share something that Danyadhara Swami always says about the sun. He says that Krishna is the sun, the S-U-N of God. And so the sun is everywhere. And the only reason we don't experience it is because we block it, like we can block the sun from an umbrella. So as you were saying again and again about the sun, I kept saying, yes, it is everywhere, but we are the ones that are blocking it. So I just wanted to reflect that. Thank you.
Very much. You are empowered by your spiritual master in an extraordinary way. Lots of love coming from Krishna through Guru to you, to us. Thank you. Anybody else out there or here? William, we see you there bubbling up. Bhima, you there? There is Bhima. What do you have to say, Bhim?
The verse has horses in it.
What?
Horses will sacrifice.
Yeah, it's a horse. Bhima is there with his horses.
Yes, he
He's
said,
also making different kind of horse sacrifice. He's preaching to the horses. Yeah.
Haribo. Oops. Haribo, how are you doing? Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. We see me. You know I'm okay. How are you?
Am I going in and out?
No, you're okay.
Okay. Well, Hare Krishna, nice class. It's also very simple, like you asked me yesterday, Adi, when somebody asked us, oh, is it just that simple? Chanting Hare Krishna. And the answer, of course, is, that love's so simple. If a child calls out for the father or the mother, will not the mother or the father come? What kind of mother or father wouldn't come to the child calling out? What kind of lover would not come to the beloved if the beloved is calling out? So this is why when we say chanting Hare Krishna, it's calling on that friend who's saying, as the little girl, I forget her name, that you were just talking about. What's her name so I can remember it?
Gaurangi.
Gaurangi. Oh, great. Now I'll never forget that. That Krishna just wants to know that we love him, and we get every moment of every day, because when you're in love, you just can't help but think of the beloved. So it's all such a simple thing, and it is simply accomplished by calling Krishna. Right, buddy. Right. Just calling Krishna. Hare Krishna. That's all I want to say. Haribo. Nice class.
Sankirtan. And my impression was, my God, Bhima loves these people. And they reciprocate with that. Even a dog can see if you love him or if you're afraid of him, if you're coming to attack him. There's the language of the heart, which transcends anything else, On Sankirtan collecting donations, the first thing that happens is you're looking at a person and they're looking back at you and they're sort of sizing you up in an instant, Is this person predatory? Is this person interested in exploiting me? Do they care about me? Or are they just trying to get money? Are they trying to fast talk me or guilt trip me? Prabhupada said, I love you means I love you for you, not for what I can get from you. And that's the vibe I always get to see you talking to people in Sankirtan. Krishna's love flowing through you like a river, astounding. Das also, you were talking to Das yesterday. Did you call him or did he call you?
Haribo, can you hear me? Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get it.
Oh,
Yes, I was talking to Das. Talk about a walking God of humility and love. Yeah, that guy. He's the cynosure. He's the center of that humble joy that comes from true monkish feeling of being solitary with Krishna. Yeah, he's always been quite the inspiration, despite like he's on a battlefield Of course, most of us who are married are on a battlefield, but we're all on a battlefield. And to see somebody laughing through the whole way, no matter what happens to them, like Das does, it just convinces you, as Prabhupada said, someone who's Krishna conscious is jolly. He's jolly. That just doesn't mean just happy to themselves, but that they share it with others. And Das is the personification of that. Haribol.
There's some love in this world. There's no doubt about it. We were in the driving in a car. Heather, remember Heather? She was here with her sister and the sister's daughter. And we were in the car, and the mother had chastised the daughter. And then the daughter was sitting in the back seat. This totally knocked me out. She said, "Mom, I love you so much it hurts." Right? Sweet, huh? So there's love in this world, and then there's pure love, unlimited Krishna's love. And we love that thing from the Bible. We love that thing from the Bible. It says, even if you can heal the sick, even if you can convert the multitude, even if you can speak with the tongues of men and angels, even if you can raise the dead, if it's done without love, it's useless, right? Patram puspram pulam sayam. Krishna says, if you offer me even a leaf, a drop of water with love, I will accept it. And Saint Teresa says that thing, not everyone is called upon to do great things for the Lord, but any one of us can do some small thing with great love. Right? Cool. Very consoling, that we have access to devotional service to Krishna. How wonderful is Krishna? How wonderful is Krishna? Please, anyone else sharing?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hi. Thank you so much for this class. It's been so sweet and encouraging.
Only repeating Srila Prabhupada, that's all.
I love it. I love it. Anyways, I wanted to say, just like just about every other conditioned soul in the material world, been going through a lot of lamentation lately. And I thought about reducing my surrender to Krishna, just to like focus on some material things and maybe find happiness in a different way. And then I realized I really can't do that. I need to go full into bhakti, because it's the only thing that makes sense to me right now. And I remembered something that Satchidananda Swami said about chanting japa, about body, like having the right body posture, keeping your mind focused in your heart. And I realized I hadn't been having my heart in japa. And so recently I started to try and like really feel the emotions that are encouraged whenever you're chanting japa. And the reciprocation I received has been tremendous. Like I feel like I'm being hugged. And just to speak to that verse you quoted about Krishna reciprocating with our degree of surrender, I've had a real experience of that recently, and it's been really nice. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
That's what we want to hear. What's your experience? What's Krishna doing in your life? And so Krishna is, you can say it felt like being hugged, or you can say, Krishna, I could feel Krishna loving, Krishna hugging me, Imagine that. We can get into some kind of dry mechanical activity. The Hasidic Jewish people say, bake your bread with burning tears. Put your heart into it. Sweet. Gil, I see you there.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, actually, I have a question for Agape, because I kind of missed how he went from deciding that he has to go more into, he had to give himself more to the bhakti process, how he went from that to feeling hugged by Krishna.
Yeah,
It-
I kind of glossed over that part. Yeah, Mother Gail. So I guess just the amount of bhakti I've practiced before this point led to me not getting enjoyment out of material life. So I did try for a couple of weeks. I wasn't chanting as much and was thinking about, restructuring my life, and it was so unfulfilling. Like it was really bad. The things that used to bring me joy really, they don't anymore. So I was like, okay, bhakti is my only choice. So I got deeper into that, and I've been doing a lot more hearing and just trying to stay in the consciousness of being at the Dham. And through that, that's whenever I started to like realize, okay, now let's work on the quality of my japa. And then that's whenever I remembered, Sachinanda Swami's body, mind, heart instruction. And I was like, okay, I've been working on mind, but on body a little bit, but not so much heart. And so when I started incorporating that, that's whenever I got to feel that hug, feel held when I'm chanting japa, and extremely grateful for it.
Would you mind sharing how you incorporated your heart more?
Yeah, just like our acharyas say, like we should cry out to Krishna whenever we're chanting. So instead of like focusing on, whatever material causes are giving me lamentation, I try to transmute those emotions towards calling out to Krishna, like, please help me. And so, yeah, just using my negative emotions and trying to direct them towards Krishna, not like in an accusing way, but just like how Srila Prabhupada says, we can use lust or wrath in Krishna's service. In the same way, using my lamentation. So does that answer your question, Mother Gail?
Yeah, and you felt hugged during your japa session?
Yes, it was like immediately once I started, like trying to direct those emotions that were distracting me from Krishna towards Krishna and asking for help, and specifically towards Nam Prabhu, towards the name. And that's when I started to feel like, oh, wow, okay, this is what they're talking about.
Wow. I'm so happy for you, and thank you so much for sharing such person. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm grateful to Adi Prabhu for the opportunity, and to all my Shiksha Gurus.
One recommendation: if some things happen and how we respond to it, we can tolerate them. We can turn to Krishna. There's a little into it. Thank you, Lord, for everything just the way it is. Serve you under this circumstance. Not just tolerating something, but thanking Krishna, because Krishna knows what he's doing. How wonderful is Krishna?
How wonderful is Krishna.
Question. Sometimes we have so much devotional service that we kind of forget who we're doing it for.
He's saying sometimes we have so much devotional service that we might forget who we're doing it for.
We get overwhelmed and burnt out and forget that devotees are devotees.
We forget that devotees are devotees. We get overwhelmed and burnt out, he's saying.
How to get out of it? Reduce your devotional service.
It's not, it's an adjustment of consciousness. Definitely there's going to be austerity, right? We have to hear, to behold divyam putraka again is satvam shudyet. We're hearing. In the human form of life, it is appropriate to voluntarily accept austerities in the service of the Lord to purify our existence. So we don't regret the fact that there's difficulty. We relish the fact that we have an opportunity to sacrifice for Krishna. So we respond with gratitude rather than fear and lamentation. We just have to remember how wonderful is Krishna. What is the Bhagavad Gita, what are the 3 things to remember for the peace formula? Do you remember? Right. Bhakti-ram Yogitapasan. First of all, Krishna is in control. It's a matter of Krishna consciousness. Krishna is in control. These things are not happening by accident.
But
These
there's also-
challenges,
there's
these
also-
obstacles.
There's also room for our stupidity.
There's room for what?
For our stupidity.
There's room for our stupidity, if you
Is
want.
there?
Like some people will say, "Oh, Krishna's in control," and then be very irresponsible with their life or their service. Or
Well,
their
there,
doings.
that's why there's 3 in that verse.
Mhm.
Krishna's in control, and Krishna is, my friend. If he's in control, but he's not your friend, you're in trouble. If he's in friend, but he's not in control, you're in trouble, right? And what's the 3rd thing? We are supposed to please Krishna.
He owns everything.
Right. He's the owner. He's the enjoyer, not me. So Krishna's in control. Krishna's my friend, and I'm supposed to do what he wants. If we forget any one of those, like she was pointing out, then there's something missing. Bhakti-ram Yogitapasan Sarva-loka Maheshwaram Suram Sarva Bhutanam Gyatramam Shantam Richtati. It says a person who remembers those 3 things, Gyatramam Shantam, certainly he will become peaceful. So you're expressing that you weren't peaceful. But something was forgotten there. That you're supposed to please Krishna.
But I'm a fool. I can't balance it.
You can hear it. Matsuji was asking a question yesterday, right at the end of class. What if somebody is a fool? What if they don't want to hear it? Right? Judge said, then they're going to suffer. But and that's true, you know. But basically what Prabhupada would say, I mean, besides what he said, in the beginning, we're not asking you to believe this. We're not asking you to subscribe to it. We're not asking you to follow it. We're only asking you to hear it. I may be foolish, but at least I can hear the truth. For starters, we tell people, okay, don't believe it. Don't do it. But I just want to tell you, Bhagavad Gita and the Joy of No Sex says, no, you know, it says there in the book, that Krishna loves you. And that this is not an accident happening because of chaos. And how can I serve you under this circumstance, Lord? Definitely the difficult circumstance. Grateful for it. Understand it's coming directly by Krishna's specific loving care for you. This challenge, this test, this sacrifice, this seeming obstacle. When there's something heavy, your strength grows by lifting it. When there's a difficult situation and you go on in your service.
There's a difficulty, and I fail to kind of process it properly.
Right.
And then I see that this is coming from me. I'm the reason of this failure.
Right.
It's not Krishna. I'm the source of my failure. So,
He's saying that there's a difficulty and then he thinks, well, I failed. The Prabhupada says failure is the pillar of success. You see a little child learning to walk first, and they fall down, then they walk and they stumble. It's going to happen. There's a learning curve. There's a stage where we're just beginning to, you know, in baseball, they throw a curveball. And the first time you throw it, you don't know how to deal with it. But gradually you learn. Oh, it's a curveball. Gradually we learn how to deal with something. Maybe not the first time, right? Isn't it? You may not be able to deal with it with the skill you have now, therefore you have to develop a new skill. And Krishna is always going to be pushing us into situations so that we can learn and grow. How wonderful is Krishna? Okay. When we don't like what's going on, we're thinking Krishna doesn't know what he's doing. This may be difficult, but Krishna's giving me this to help me. Thank you, Krishna. What?
We're not necessarily thinking that Krishna is cruel or anything. We're just thinking,
We're not thinking Krishna's cruel, we're thinking I'm weak. Well, that's part of humility. Part of humility is to say, I'm very fallen, I'm very incompetent, but Krishna is so kind that he's helping me to learn and grow, right?
I like how you said once that you cannot do that. Forget your strength, your qualification. Forget that, but Krishna, you bring Krishna.
He can use you, right? Krishna can empower you. We may have our limitation. Yeah, very good. And I'm not saying that. If it's what I'm saying, I'm only repeating what Prabhupada's telling us. I'm Scott Shastra. You might have heard, you can mention that I was quoting Prabhupada. That's okay. But I'm not taking the credit for it. We have to give credit where credit's due. Well, glories to Srila Prabhupada. And the time now is over for class, I guess. Greetings, Didi. Until the curtain's open, okay, we can go on. Anyone else want to share experiences, angles of vision, facial expressions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, if nobody has something, I have a question.
Welcome to hear from you.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could just connect the dots for me between, you said just a little while ago that if you're not peaceful, then you're not remembering that everything is meant for Krishna's pleasure, or you're supposed, something like that. You know, you were referring to the peace formula there. So, right. So can you connect those two? You know, we're not remembering that everything is for Krishna's enjoyment. If we're not peaceful, it's because we're not remembering that we're supposed to do everything for Krishna's enjoyment or something. Can you connect that?
We're thinking selfishly. We're not thinking of a servant. We're thinking, I like this, I don't like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Disease mentality. As soon as you begin an endeavor for enjoyment, your distress begins. That's what Prahlad Maharaj says.
I can't hear you. You said as soon as what?
Endeavor for our own satisfaction, our distress begins.
Uh-huh.
Read the 7th canto, 47. Prahlad Maharaj is saying that. As soon as I begin something that I want, that I like, rather than what do you want, Lord, then our distress begins. You are of your pleasure. You don't want to get dragged along screaming. Just go with Krishna. He knows what he's doing. Huh? Does that help?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
And
Even though sometimes when you are acting for, or trying to act for Krishna's pleasure, and maybe you're meeting obstacles or something, you know, you can meet with frustration in that way too, though.
there's a transcendental Krishna conscious lamentation. Lord, I wish I could do better. And that's Krishna pleased by that.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
When they were getting
Uh-oh, can't hear you so well. No, it's not you.
they showed church that was available in Toronto. And Prabhupada teased them a little bit. The devotee told me that, he said, how much is it that they showed him the church? Oh, it's $500,000, Prabhupada. This was like many years ago. $500,000 was a lot of money at that time. And Prabhupada said, oh, we would be in so much anxiety if we had to pay $500,000. We'd have to work so hard. And then, yeah, Prabhupada, why should we be in anxiety? And then a few weeks later, Prabhupada said, how much was that church? And I said, $500,000, Prabhupada. We would be in so much. And Prabhupada slammed the table and said, there must be anxiety. Don't be ridiculous. You're just going to sit around in the temple and eat all day. You know, we're taking on something difficult for Krishna's pleasure. The gopis were willing to go to hell when they said, "Oh, can you give us the dust of your feet to put on Krishna's head? Can you give us?" And the yogis turned, "Oh no, we put our dust of our feet on Krishna's head, we'll go to hell." And so he said, the gopi said, "Yeah, give it, take my dust, put it on his head. Don't you know you'll go to hell? We don't care. If that'll help Krishna's headache, we'll go to hell." Narayana Parasabe Nakudashinda Bibiki Sparga Paparganarkesh. It says the devotee doesn't care whether they go to heaven or hell. They just want to know, where do you want me, Lord? I can remember when I got the call to come to New York and try to get this building, Bhakti Center building. It was in New Zealand. Heavenly Planet, Devanrita Swami Chandrasekhar Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj. I mean, New Zealand is just like a heavenly planet. And they said, "Okay, Adi, we want you to go to New York because there's no temple in Manhattan now, and we're going to be." Oh no, New York. Okay. Hell, I mean, when you're in it, you don't really realize how ridiculous New York City is. Passionate, expensive, pretty, But the Krishna gave me intelligence to surrender. It took us 6 years to collect to get this building. I personally spoke to 350,000 people over the course of 6 years to collect to the Bhakti Center. Okay, here comes Radha Muralidhar. How wonderful is Krishna?
How wonderful is Krishna?
All glories to Srila